Hi everyone, let's get started with today's lesson on homographs. If you don't already have a piece of paper and a pencil nearby, grab that now so we can get started. Today's objective says students will be able to recognize homographs and explain both meanings of the word. That goes along with one of our fourth grade standards that says fourth graders should be able to identify relationships among words, including more complex homographs, homonyms, synonyms, antonyms, and multiple meaning words. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly are homographs? As a reader, you will occasionally encounter a familiar word that seems like it could be understood in a number of different ways. Homographs are words that are spelled the same but have different meanings and different origins. Let's look at some examples of some common homographs. First, you see the use of the word tire in two different ways. First, we have a tire like you might have on a car. And then tire, the second one, is more like a feeling you would have when you are sleepy. The next we have the word wave. First, you see it used as an action, the act of waving at someone, maybe as you're leaving, or used as a noun, a big, I'm trying to explain how a wave might look, something out in the ocean, a big like current of water. Then we have the word ring. Ring can be a sound you hear or an object you wear on your finger. Even the word pop down at the bottom. Pop can be used to describe a beverage you might drink or as a sound that you might hear. Let's see how our book defines what homographs are. In our workshop book, it says homographs are words that are spelled the same but have different meanings and origins. For example, the word bear is a homograph because it can mean the animal or it can mean to carry or support. You can use context clues to help you figure out the meanings of homographs. Let me give you an example from our story, My Big Brother Johnny Caw. The word head appears twice in this passage. I'm going to start by looking for context clues in the text that help me figure out the correct meaning each time that word appears. So in the first paragraph, it says, at 15, Johnny had grown so tall that when he stretched out in bed at night, his head hung out the front door and his feet hung out the back door, all the way into the chicken coop where the hens laid eggs between his toes. In the second paragraph, the word head is used a little differently. That sentence says, Daddy hitched up the oxen. We began to head west. But it wasn't long until Johnny hollered for everybody to stop. So I have to think, what does head up here in the first paragraph mean, and what does it mean down here in the second paragraph? Because they're definitely not used the same. The context clues that I used are here highlighted in blue, where it says hung out from the front door and his feet hung out the back door. When it's used in relation to his feet, it sounds like it's referring to a part of someone's body. In the second paragraph, the highlighted clues say we began to head west and hollered for everyone or everybody to stop. The word head there is used more like a verb, meaning to go in a direction. Where in the first paragraph, the word head was used more like a noun, meaning a part of a body. Let's try another one together. The next homograph that we're going to look at is the word top. Which definition of the word top makes sense here? Look for context clues that will help us figure out the correct meaning. So think about how top can be used in different ways. When I think of the word top, I think about the toy you might see people play with. You put it on the ground and spin it. But top can also mean like a location of something. Let's read this paragraph and see which definition of top is being used here. This sentence says, "He picked me up and set me on top of his head, where I had to hang on to fists or handfuls of Johnny's red hair to keep from falling off." Well, when I think about that word, I don't see anything that makes me think top is referring to a type of toy. It sounds more like a location to me. So if you were thinking that you would use these clues, I had to hang on to handfuls of Johnny's red hair to keep from falling off, you are probably thinking that that word is referring to more like a location. Here it says top is meaning at the highest point, which makes sense if they were putting her on top or at the highest point of Johnny's head. Now you're going to try one on your own. I'll talk you through it, but you're going to write your answer on that paper and we'll check it in a couple of slides. The next homograph that we're going to look at is the word brush. Which definition of the word brush makes sense here? Look for context clues that will help you figure out the correct meaning. So before we read the text, think about how brush can be used in different ways. My first thought when I hear that word brush, I think of it as like a tool, something with a handle that often has bristles. You might use it to untangle hair. You might use it to clean, like a cleaning brush. You might use a brush for like putting on makeup or painting. But then I also think brush, you can be meaning to wipe something away, like to brush something off of your clothes. And then there's another meaning of the word brush where they're talking about low growing plants and bushes. So let's read the text and decide which type of brush is being referred to here. We'll use the context clues to help us decide. The text says, Johnny was happy to help. For a week, he hiked back and forth to all kinds of places, dragging his giant bags of wheat everywhere, clearing trails of trees, brush, and boulders. The Gold Rush folks were tickled to find good, clear paths that they named the Oregon Trail, the Santa Fe Trail, and the Chisholm Trail. So I want you to be thinking about which context clues or which clues there in the text can help you decide what the definition of brush is in this text. I want you on your paper to write down what you think the word brush means and what context clues help you figure it out. You can pause your video now to write down the definition of brush, and then write down a few words from the text that helped you decide what definition was being used here. Once you have a definition and context clues written down, start your video again and we'll check your work. All right, after going back and looking for context clues, you may have written down the clues: clearing trails of trees, brush, and boulders. That clearing trails of trees and boulders lets you know that we're referring to something outside. So if we are referring to something that's outside that has to be cleared away, we are probably thinking about what? Did you say small bushes and plants? If so, you are correct. Now it's time for some practice. You're going to answer some multiple choice questions where you have to apply what we learned about homographs today. After that, you'll have some questions where you simply have to choose the correct definition of the homograph. Then finally, you'll have an IXL skill to work on where you answer questions about words with multiple meanings. If you have any problems with today's lesson or with the questions that you have to answer, please make sure to bring them to our Google Meet this afternoon, and I'll be happy to help you.